Hi, Emmanuel here with T2S. T2S stands for Transformed to Succeed. In this video today, I'm going to talk about what we refer to as containerization. Containerization, it's another approach, just like virtualization. What that means is, so you take an application, so you're going to take an application and then you containerize that application in a container, just like this one here. So you have your application here inside, and these applications could be, it could be anything. It could be an application like a web application, or a database application like MySQL, Aurora, or whatever you want to containerize. And it can also be an ISO image. An ISO image, it's like a compact operating system which has been zipped and compressed. The point and the reason of doing this with playing with Docker is that it allows you to make this more portable. So Docker makes things more portable. It becomes so easy to share. You can scale easily, so it becomes scalable and more isolated from the rest of your system. And how easy is this? In other words, you can have like this is your computer. Let's assume that this is your computer. On your computer, you can have a different number of containers. So you can have many containers, as many containers you want. You can have container number 1. You can have container number 2. And the list goes on. So you can have as many containers as possible. So that's why now a lot of companies are using containers. They don't take a lot of space, a lot of memory, a lot of CPU for your computer, but it's because they are so much more portable. And what I want to do now is to just walk you through the process of how you can take advantage of Docker. It's one of the skills that you need if you want to get a better job as a cloud engineer, a DevOps engineer, and so on, and even a systems administrator. If you want to get a good job, so you can do that, you need these skills. I'll take you to a website. And on this website, what we do, this is, if you go to Docker.io, you're gonna find a lot there. Yeah, you find a lot of you find the documentation to do anything you need to do and more. Also, for you to use Docker, you need, first of all, you need to install Docker. You need to install Docker on your system. Make sure that the Docker engine is running. It's running. I'll take you to the website right now so that you see, you make sense of what I'm talking more about here. So this is what you have here. So you have this. If you go, let me just retype this. If you go to like docker.io and press enter, so this is kind of like the official website. It's docker.com, and you click here, you get to this page which allows you to first you can sign in, and that's Docker Hub. So it's a cloud platform where you can set up an account. And the Docker Hub, this is where you go to pull images. This is where you go to pull images. I will explain this better here. What happens is, after you install Docker on your system, you are gonna have the Docker engine on your system. So this will be like, it's like the engine, the motor, whatever makes Docker works on your system. So you have this, and we have here the Docker Hub. This is the Docker Hub. So this is where you find whatever you need to use on your system. This could be an operating system that you want to use on your computer. This could be anything. It could be like a monitoring tool like ELK Stack that you want to use on your computer, on your local system, your local machine. And this could be like an application. It could be a database storage application that you want to install, containerize, and then use it on your computer. And then and you'll be shocked, because even when you containerize, like in one of my previous videos on YouTube, I use Docker to deploy and provision an ELK stack. I'll make sure that I attach that I added the link to that specific video to this video here. And there, I mean, you are able to go to the browser and use ELK the same way you would have used it from, I mean, if you were installing that, you had installed that on your local machine. So that's the beauty of Docker. And then back to our Docker engine, this is kind of like the architecture. So you install, first you need to install, make sure that you have installed Docker. So Docker should be installed. Okay, so it's installed, and after you install Docker, now next what you're gonna have to do is to now get things from the Docker Hub. So you're gonna have to pull, and there is a command that says Docker pull. So you have to pull an image from the Docker Hub. You can do it by just using the Docker command here, by just using the Docker pull command, and this is the image. Okay, so you can do that, or this is one possibility, or the second possibility is to write a Docker file. A Docker file, it's a file that you write, and then you can take care of the business just using a Docker file. Okay, and I'll show it to you in just a few moments here. So those are like the two ways. So the two ways that you can do this, using the Docker command cmd, or using the Docker file. You have to create a file and you name it Docker file, and on this file, to this file you add content that will allow you to pull whatever you want to pull from the Docker Hub, and then on top of what you have, the image that you got from Docker Hub, you can build different layers. So that's layer number one. You can have another layer here. See here. So these are layers. This will be like layer number one, number two, and this will be layer number one. And the way you do this is by, you can either just use the Docker commands to do it, So that's option number one. Or you can use the Docker file, which is just one file, and this is the file which will configure the kind of infrastructure that you wanna provision here. Talking about the Docker file. On a Docker file, what you need to do, it's so you number one, first you create a file. This is kind of like how you do it. First you create a file. I'm gonna say here Docker file. Docker file. So first you're gonna create a file, and number two, this file you name it the way I'm writing it here, Docker file, in one word. And then three, add content. So the first thing that you need to do, the first command would be like the from in uppercase here, from. This is an example of what we will be using in a moment here. Nginx. Then we're gonna say Alpine. So we're gonna get the image that we need. It's a web application image known as Nginx. You have Apache, you have so on and so forth, the many. So that would be the image. So this is to get the image. And this is our file here. This is our Docker file. This is our Docker file. So I hope you can see the whole screen here, the Docker file. All right. So number two, the next thing that I need to do is to say, okay, so now that I have the, this is to copy the image, to pull image. I'm gonna just say that, pull image, all right? So that's the first line, from Nginx, and then column, and where we want to get the image from. The next is we want to begin building our layers. So I'm gonna copy index HTML, and this could be anything you want to do here. It could be copy a file or copy anything. In this case, we're copying this index. We're copying everything from. We're copying the index HTML file, and then we are going to save it here. So we're gonna save it here. It's gonna be user share. This is the path where we want to save our HTML file. So on our local machine, this is where we want to store the index HTML. Remember, this is a web application that we want to containerize here, and for that you need a web server. In our demo, for the sake of our demo, we're using Nginx. The next layer, so this will be like this is the first layer. Okay, this is the first layer. So we're gonna say first layer that we will build on top of this image here. So we're gonna build that on top of that image, the web server. So we first get the image, then on top of that image, we're gonna build layers. And the first layer is the index.html file. The next layer, we're gonna expose, meaning that we expose our web application by opening the port 80. Okay, so we're gonna open a port 80, And that's another layer that we add to our system here, to our image. So that's our second layer. You can have as many layers as you want depending on the requirements of your project. But for the case of our demo, we just stop here. What I'm gonna show you next is that I've already written a Docker file. But before I do that, let's go back to the website here. When you go to the website here, you find a lot of things here. You can get started by setting up an account, and you can click here and get started. You can download a desktop Docker, a Docker desktop application. I have mine on all of my machines here. There's so many. You have different types here. So you have download for Linux, you have download for Windows, you have for Mac. I have one for Mac because I'm using a Mac computer. You go to the docs here. This is where you find all of the commands that you need, documentation that you need to take advantage of this. If you go to the left here, you have the overview. Then you have here get Docker, Docker desktop, Docker extensions, and here you have Docker build. If you click here, it's gonna show you, give you everything that you need to know about that specific topic. Here you also have Docker Compose. The Docker Compose it's another feature that comes with Docker. You're gonna need to install Docker Compose, which will allow you to orchestrate your containers. There are documentation here on how you can install that. So I already have installed Docker Compose. I have Docker itself on my computer. I'll take you to some of the documentation here that I have, or the scripts that I have written. But before I do that, let me show you my LinkedIn here. Not LinkedIn, but GitHub. You go to the repo, this one, Docker commands. You're gonna find all of the commands here that you may need to get started here. You can play with this on your own. For now, what I want to show you, after when you install your Docker on your desktop, what happens, you're gonna see it here. You see at the bottom of my screen, you see here there's Docker, and when you click on it, if it's installed correctly, you're gonna see something like this here. I've been using this for some time. At the bottom left, if you click here, nothing will happen there, sorry. You go to here to the gear thing here, and next to the gear, you see there's this like troubleshoot something. You can either, if let's say your Docker was not started yet, this will say start, then you click start. Yeah, you want to clean or purge data, you can just click here, and which I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna do that, kind of like refreshing your application. And you see here that I am logged in. So you can also do the same. Make sure that you subscribe, and you see here I'm there. They're gonna ask you to update your subscription. If you wanna go pro, that will cost you like $5 a month. You wanna go as a team, this will be $9 per team member per month. Mine is this one here. It's personal, so it's limited but enough for me to use and play with it. So that's gonna be up to you. Let's go to my command line here. I use Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio Code, it's another application that you can install. If you go online here, you just Google Visual Studio Code. It's gonna take you, the first one to appear here. This is it. You can download it on Windows, Linux, or Mac computers. Just follow the instructions and you should be okay. So back to my code here, and I have this already on my GitHub. I'm gonna add it also to the notes of this video, of this demo. What I have done, I have written this script. This, it's a Docker Compose YAML file, which kind of like determines the stages of how you want to build your deploy your application. And in my case, it's gonna be just web, and what I want to do is just to build everything. And you see the dot here. The dot is to say that everything will be built here. It doesn't have to be built somewhere else, so it stays in this specific present working directory. And I want to open the container. I will open it at 8080. This is the port that will allow traffic from the outside world over the internet to my application. And my application's port is port 80. And then here you have, I have my Docker file, which I explained to you a few moments ago. And this is what I have written. And the index, you don't have to struggle with this, like try to understand. It's just a form that will require people to enter their first name, phone number, and short message, and then submit it to T2S. Yeah, at this point, this form, when you submit something, it takes you nowhere because it's not configured to be to store the data, the input, the intake or input data anywhere, like on S3 bucket or DynamoDB or wherever I want to store this, or Cosmos, on or database on Azure, Google, or AWS. So this is it, and then here you have nothing here, but this is it. So the way you can get all of this stuff here is to go. You just open any terminal on your keyboard. You open any terminal on your keyboard and decide where you want to store the code. In my case, I'll just store it here, and then go back to find my GitHub repo. So you go to my GitHub repo. So you're gonna go here, and when you come here, this is where you can, first of all, you can copy everything here. Like if you click here, you see the command here, the line URL here. So if you do copy, what you're gonna do here is git on your terminal, git clone, and then paste the URL and press enter. So it's gonna copy everything here. So what you have done, you have copied all of the Docker commands script. Clear my screen, and then if I wanna open, if I wanna go into the next thing is to go into that Docker commands directory that you've just copied from my GitHub repo. If you ls, so you only have this file, and if you cat this file, you're going to have all of the commands. So you have all of the commands that you can play with. And again, go back to the documentation to see how you can take advantage of this, right? So there's so much information that you can use for yourself. The next thing that I want to do is to git clone the application that we want to use today. So let's go here. We go back here, go to here, and again the URL link will be shared. If you look at the notes, you should see it, and it's gonna be this one here. So just copy this, go back to your terminal, and you're gonna do the same thing here. So you're gonna do the git clone, and then paste the URL, then press enter, ULS, and you're gonna see that it's been copied here. So that's the Docker web form that we want to use, and move into that directory. So I'm there. If you ls, you're gonna see all of the files that you need here. And if you cat readme, you see the steps on how you can use this. And then this is a little bit more than what's supposed to be here, but I'm gonna fix it at the end of the recording of this video, so that it doesn't have to confuse you, because I think I made some changes. I wanted to configure the data that you input using the form submission to be stored in DynamoDB as well as S3, but I've removed that. So I'm gonna change this. This is going to be different at the end, by the time I'm done recording this video. All right, so you wanna, at least the point is, the README will give you the steps about on how to deal with all of this. So I'm gonna clear my screen here. I'll clear my screen. What we need to do is first make sure that your Docker is running on your keyboard or on your local machine, and you make sure that it's running. And then next, we're gonna use Docker Compose, which is a way to orchestrate your Docker containers. Okay, so I press enter, and you're gonna see this. So it's going to build my image using the Docker file that I had written, which I had also shown you. Next, what we want to do is to make sure that Docker, and you can do Docker PS to see what's going on. So let me see here, -A. So here I don't see anything because everything is on my the Docker Hub system there. So don't worry about that. But let's go ahead and do this. So we're gonna now do Docker Compose app, meaning that we want to turn this on, our application. And here it says it's on. And what we need to do is, if you look at the Docker file here, we're gonna the Docker Compose here. So we're gonna go to this port here. Everything that we're doing here, it's on our local system. We have not deployed or deployed this into production. So go to your browser. Let's go to our browser. We're gonna say local host and then 8080, right? So we're gonna do that, and you see, so here we have the form. And remember, if you try to enter the information, because this has not been configured to store the data that comes into any storage service, so that's why you may get something like this here. So you may get this here because it's not configured. It's not connected. This form is not connected to an S3 bucket or blob storage on Azure, or Cosmos DB or DynamoDB or something like that. So, but at least you have some idea of about how, by just using a Docker, file here, we can combine that with Docker Compose to orchestrate our containerized web application. I really thank you, and I hope this was very helpful. And the key thing in IT, it's where do you find your documentation and how do you use it? Also, master just the concept. That's key. I'll see you in the next video. God bless, and thank you so much.